911, we got a call from this number. Is everything okay?
The promise of a young life, Montanae Davis, was brutally extinguished, plunging her community into shock and grief. On a date that remains seared into the memory of her loved ones, a senseless act of violence claimed the 26-year-old woman, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and profound sorrow. Her vibrant presence was abruptly stolen, initiating a desperate search for truth and accountability in the face of an unimaginable loss. As news of Montanae's death rippled through Dayton, Ohio, disbelief quickly gave way to a collective outcry for justice. Friends, family, and concerned citizens wrestled with the harsh reality of her violent demise, struggling to comprehend the motives behind such a heinous act. The suddenness of her passing underscored the fragility of life and ignited a fierce determination to ensure her killer faced the full force of the law. Law enforcement immediately launched an intensive investigation, dedicating significant resources to unraveling the mysteries surrounding Montanae's murder. Detectives meticulously processed the crime scene, gathered forensic evidence, and began interviewing witnesses, determined to piece together the events of that fateful night. Their focused efforts aimed to identify the perpetrator and bring swift resolution to a community reeling from tragedy. The pursuit of justice quickly narrowed its focus on Jamartae Brown, whom investigators identified as the primary suspect in Montanae Davis's shooting death. The evidence meticulously collected during the initial phases of the investigation pointed directly to Brown, shifting the case from a general inquiry into a targeted manhunt. Authorities moved decisively, building a case that would eventually lead to his apprehension and the beginning of legal proceedings. This video delves into the chilling details of Montanae Davis's murder, the tireless dedication of law enforcement in their pursuit of justice, and the ultimate identification and legal process faced by Jamartae Brown. We explore the life Montanae lived, the tragic circumstances of her death, and the journey through the justice system that sought to bring accountability for her untimely passing. Before we continue, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Like this video and share it with someone. Montanae Davis, a vibrant and dynamic 26-year-old woman, illuminated the lives of those around her with her infectious spirit and unwavering optimism. She actively pursued her passions and with full dedication. Her presence consistently brought warmth and laughter to her friends and family, establishing her as a beloved and cherished member of her circle. She forged strong connections within her community, actively participating in Dayton, Ohio community activities. Montanae consistently demonstrated a commitment to making a positive impact, pouring her efforts into initiatives that mattered deeply to her. Her dedication to her chosen pursuits showcased a young woman driven by purpose and a desire to contribute meaningfully. Friends frequently described Montanae as a beacon of strength and resilience. She faced life's challenges with an admirable fortitude, always striving to overcome obstacles and emerge stronger. Her ability to navigate difficulties with grace inspired many, solidifying her reputation as a person who genuinely embodied perseverance. Montanae cultivated deep and meaningful relationships. She invested wholeheartedly in her friendships and cherished her family bonds, actively nurturing these connections through consistent support and genuine affection. Her loved ones knew her as a loyal confidant and a steadfast companion, always ready to offer a listening ear or a helping hand. In the days leading up to her tragic death, Montanae continued to engage in her usual activities, seemingly charting a course for her future with the same enthusiasm she always displayed. While specific details of her final moments remain within the ongoing investigation, her known routine painted a picture of a life lived fully and actively, unaware of the impending horror. No obvious signs of distress or impending danger reportedly shadowed Montanae's final days. She maintained her regular schedule, interacting with friends and pursuing her interests without exhibiting any overt indications of fear or concern. This apparent normalcy tragically masked the horrific events that would soon shatter her life and devastate her loved ones. She meticulously planned for her future, setting clear goals for her career and personal growth. Montanae possessed a forward-looking perspective, actively working towards achieving her aspirations and building the life she envisioned for herself. Her ambition and foresight underlined the immense potential her life held. Montanae's absence left an immediate and profound void. Her family and friends quickly noticed her uncharacteristic silence and the lack of communication, prompting immediate concern. They instinctively understood that her disappearance deviated sharply from her established patterns of reliability and constant contact, igniting their desperate search for answers. Her tragic death robbed her community of a vibrant and promising individual. Montanae Davis, at just 26 years old, had already built a life rich with connections and contributions, leaving behind a legacy of warmth, strength, and unwavering spirit that her loved ones fiercely protect and remember. The senseless violence that claimed Montanae's life represents an immeasurable loss, extinguishing a radiant individual who consistently enriched the lives of those around her. Her story serves as a poignant reminder of the preciousness of life and the devastating impact of crime on individuals and communities. The tranquility of the city shattered as an act of horrific violence abruptly claimed Montanae Davis's life. This moment marked the chilling pivot from ordinary life to a tragic crime scene, forever altering the fabric of the community. Responding officers quickly converged on the scene, their sirens slicing through the night. They encountered a horrifying tableau, finding Montanae Davis unresponsive, a victim of a brutal shooting. The immediate observations by first responders painted a grim picture, confirming the severity of the violence and the irreparable loss of life. The crime scene itself immediately presented a complex puzzle for investigators. Forensic teams swiftly secured the area, meticulously marking and documenting every piece of evidence. They navigated the space with precision, beginning the arduous process of collecting clues that would later speak volumes about the events that transpired during those terrifying moments. Evidence of a struggle or a rapid, violent confrontation became apparent. Investigators carefully analyzed the immediate surroundings for shell casings, blood spatter patterns, or any other physical indications that could reveal the sequence of events. Each detail, no matter how small, promised to contribute to building a comprehensive understanding of the crime. Emergency medical personnel arrived swiftly, but their efforts quickly shifted from resuscitation to confirmation of a fatality. The tragic reality of Montanae Davis's death became undeniable at the scene, solidifying the incident as a homicide investigation and deepening the resolve of law enforcement to pursue justice.
They said the shooting may have happened in front of her own children.
Now, this happened in Montgomery County about 3 o'clock this morning on Torrington Place, just off Salem Avenue.
They found a female, 26 years of age, who had been shot. They did first aid at the scene, but unfortunately she passed away later at the hospital.
Initial interviews commenced with anyone present or living nearby who might have witnessed the incident or possess relevant information. Detectives began the critical task of canvassing the area, seeking out residents, business owners, or passers-by who could offer crucial insights into the moments leading up to and immediately following the shooting. Their testimonies provided early fragments of the puzzle. Police immediately prioritized securing any available surveillance footage from nearby homes or businesses. They recognized the vital role digital evidence could play in identifying vehicles, individuals, or movements around the time of the shooting. This technological resource became an indispensable tool in their early efforts to establish a timeline and identify potential suspects. The very nature of the crime, a fatal shooting, immediately signaled a high-priority investigation. Law enforcement mobilized specialized units, including homicide detectives and forensic experts, dedicating significant resources to unraveling the truth behind Montanae Davis's murder. They committed themselves to a relentless pursuit of accountability for the heinous act. In those immediate hours, a sense of shock and profound sadness permeated the local community. Residents grappled with the violence that had intruded upon their lives, fearing for their safety and mourning the loss of a vibrant young woman. The crime scene became a stark symbol of the tragedy that had befallen them. The discovery of Montanae Davis's body marked the grim beginning of the formal investigation. The raw horror of the scene ignited the determination of law enforcement to identify and apprehend her killer, setting in motion a complex and painstaking journey towards justice for Montanae. The horrifying discovery of Montanae Davis's body at her residence on the 700 block of Torrington Place in Dayton, Ohio, immediately propelled police into a high-stakes homicide investigation. Detectives from the Dayton Police Department Homicide Unit swiftly converged on the scene, recognizing the urgency of gathering every possible shred of evidence. The initial hours became critical as officers meticulously documented the crime scene, working against the clock to preserve any fleeting clues. Investigators promptly secured the perimeter, ensuring the integrity of the scene. They carefully collected forensic evidence, including shell casings from the multiple gunshots that struck Montanae. Crime scene technicians painstakingly processed the area, searching for fingerprints, DNA, and any other physical indicators that could lead them to the perpetrator. Each piece of evidence held the potential to illuminate the violent events of that early morning on April 3rd. A crucial development in the initial investigation emerged from a 911 call Montanae Davis herself placed just moments before her death. In that call, she explicitly named her ex-boyfriend, Jamerte Brown, informing dispatchers he was threatening her and her home. This direct accusation from the victim became a pivotal piece of intelligence, immediately directing investigators' focus towards Brown as a primary person of interest. Armed with this critical lead, detectives rapidly began building a profile of Jamerte Brown and his connection to Montanae Davis. They started gathering information about his whereabouts, his history, and the nature of his relationship with Montanae. The 911 call provided a clear and compelling starting point, allowing investigators to move quickly from a general homicide inquiry to a targeted pursuit of a specific suspect. Further evidence quickly solidified Jamerte Brown's connection to the crime. An affidavit filed in Dayton Municipal Court detailed how Brown forcefully entered Montanae's residence by kicking in the back door and back garage door. This violent entry confirmed the victim's earlier desperate call and painted a picture of a determined and aggressive assailant. Once inside, Brown allegedly began to shoot Ms. Davis several times with a firearm. This direct account of the shooting, likely derived from witness testimony or forensic analysis, provided a terrifying narrative of the final moments of Montanae's life. Police discovered Montanae in the kitchen, suffering from these multiple gunshot wounds, highlighting the brutal nature of the attack. A friend of Montanae Davis, who was also present at the house during the shooting, heard the gunfire and took defensive action, reportedly using her own firearm to shoot at Brown before fleeing the scene. While this individual's actions did not prevent Montanae's death, their presence provided crucial eyewitness testimony and confirmed the sequence of events, further implicating Brown. Although Jamerte Brown fled the scene before police arrived, the meticulous investigation continued. Homicide detectives followed leads that quickly brought them to a house on the 4500 block of Queens Avenue in Dayton. There, they observed a man matching Brown's description, along with two other individuals, seen placing a firearm wrapped in a toddler-sized t-shirt into a nearby storm sewer before leaving in a truck. This critical observation provided strong evidence of an attempt to dispose of the murder weapon and linked Brown directly to the shooting. Later that afternoon, on April 3rd, authorities successfully located and apprehended Jamerte Brown. His arrest in the 2000 block of North James H. McGee at Child Street marked a significant breakthrough in the investigation, bringing the primary suspect into custody just hours after the brutal crime occurred. This swift apprehension demonstrated the efficiency and dedication of the Dayton Police Department. The combined force of Montanae Davis's own desperate 911 call, the evidence of forced entry, eyewitness accounts from within the house, the recovery of a weapon linked to Brown, and his subsequent apprehension, built a strong case that pointed directly to Jamerte Brown as the perpetrator of Montanae Davis's murder in Dayton, Ohio. The investigation moved decisively, laying the groundwork for the legal proceedings that would follow. The swift and decisive actions of the Dayton Police Department not only identified but also apprehended Jamerte Brown, bringing the primary suspect in Montanae Davis's brutal murder into immediate focus. Investigators wasted no time in piecing together Brown's background, seeking to understand the individual accused of such a heinous act. His profile, now under intense scrutiny, began to reveal a history that would contextualize the tragedy. Authorities quickly established the profound and volatile nature of Jamerte Brown's relationship with Montanae Davis. They were former romantic partners, a detail that immediately directed the investigation towards a domestic violence nexus. This crucial relationship detail provided a framework for understanding the alleged escalating conflict that ultimately led to the fatal encounter. Evidence gathered by detectives vividly painted a picture of a relationship plagued by ongoing disputes and threats. Montanae Davis herself had contacted 911 moments before her death, explicitly naming Jamartae Brown and stating he was threatening her and her home. This desperate call served as the most direct and damning piece of evidence establishing Brown's presence and aggressive intent. The motive for the murder, as established by the accumulating evidence, centered squarely on a domestic dispute that spiraled into extreme violence. Prosecutors contended that Brown's actions stemmed from a desire to control or harm Montanae within the context of their previous relationship. This alleged personal vendetta drove him to commit the ultimate act of aggression. Police affidavits detailed Jamartae Brown's alleged forceful and premeditated entry into Montanae's home on Torrington Place in Dayton. He reportedly kicked in the back door and then a second door leading into the garage, demonstrating a clear intent to gain access to the residence despite resistance. This violent breach underscored the invasive and aggressive nature of his approach. Once inside, Brown allegedly confronted Montanae Davis, escalating the domestic dispute into a deadly confrontation. The investigation determined that he then shot her multiple times with a firearm, inflicting the fatal wounds that claimed her life in her own kitchen. This direct act of violence solidified the murder charge against him. A witness, a friend of Montanae present in the home, provided crucial testimony about the terrifying moments of the shooting. This individual reportedly heard the gunfire and even fired back at Brown with their own weapon before fleeing to safety. Their account offered a first-hand narrative of the alleged violence and further cemented Brown's role as the assailant. Investigators pieced together Brown's flight from the crime scene, detailing how he attempted to evade capture and dispose of the murder weapon. Police observed Brown and two other individuals abandoning a firearm, wrapped in a toddler-sized t-shirt, in a storm sewer near a home on Queens Avenue in Dayton. This act indicated an attempt to conceal his involvement and destroy evidence. The swift apprehension of Jamartae Brown in the 2000 block of North James H. McGee at Child Street hours after the shooting confirmed his identity and brought him into custody. This rapid arrest was a testament to the effectiveness of the Dayton Police Department's investigation, which quickly connected the dots from the 911 call to Brown's actions and whereabouts. The collected evidence, from Montanae's desperate call naming him, to his violent forced entry, the eyewitness account of the shooting, and his attempt to dispose of the weapon, together painted a clear and compelling picture. This comprehensive body of proof definitively identified Jamartae Brown as Montanae Davis's killer and firmly established the motive as a violent domestic dispute, laying the groundwork for the legal proceedings that would follow in Dayton, Ohio. Following his swift apprehension in Dayton, Ohio, law enforcement formally placed Jamartae Brown under arrest, officially commencing the legal process that would seek justice for Montanae Davis. Prosecutors swiftly moved to charge Brown with the brutal murder, signaling their intent to hold him accountable for the fatal shooting that shattered the tranquility of Torrington Place. The judicial system now took center stage, initiating its meticulous process of investigation and prosecution. Brown quickly appeared before a judge in Dayton Municipal Court for his arraignment, where he formally heard the charges leveled against him. This initial court appearance marked a critical juncture, as the court officially recognized Brown as the accused killer in Montanae Davis's death. The proceedings immediately transitioned from a police investigation to a formal legal battle, with all eyes on the pursuit of justice. A key development in the early stages of the legal process involved the question of Jamartae Brown's mental state and his ability to participate in his own defense. The court initiated a competency evaluation, a standard but crucial step in cases of this gravity. This assessment aimed to determine whether Brown possessed the mental capacity to understand the charges against him and to assist his legal counsel effectively in the ongoing proceedings. Ultimately, a judge formally ruled Jamartae Brown competent to stand trial in connection with Montanae Davis's shooting death. This judicial decision confirmed that Brown met the legal standard for mental fitness, allowing the prosecution to proceed with the case against him. The ruling cleared a significant hurdle, paving the way for the trial phase and a full examination of the evidence. With Brown deemed competent, prosecutors diligently prepared their case, assembling the compelling evidence gathered by the Dayton Police Department. They meticulously organized the 911 call placed by Montanae naming Brown, the forensic evidence from the crime scene on Torrington Place, eyewitness accounts from the house, and the critical discovery of the discarded firearm. Each piece strengthened their argument for Brown's culpability. Brown's defense team actively mounted a counter-argument aiming to challenge the prosecution's narrative and potentially mitigate the severity of the charges. While specific defense strategies vary, they typically involve questioning the evidence, presenting alternative interpretations of events, or arguing for a lesser degree of culpability. The courtroom became the arena where both sides presented their version of the truth to the jury. The trial proceedings likely unfolded with emotional testimony from witnesses and detailed presentations of forensic findings. Prosecutors painted a vivid picture of the violent entry into Montanae's home and the subsequent shooting, aiming to establish Brown's intent and actions beyond a reasonable doubt. The courtroom served as the stage for a dramatic recounting of the tragic events. The jury, tasked with the immense responsibility of weighing the evidence, diligently listened to arguments from both sides. They considered all presented facts, evaluated witness credibility, and deliberated carefully before reaching a verdict. Their decision would ultimately determine Jamartae Brown's legal fate and potentially bring a measure of justice to Montanae Davis's family. Following the jury's verdict, the court moved to the sentencing phase, where the judge formally delivered Jamartae Brown's punishment. This outcome represented the culmination of the legal process, establishing the consequences for Brown's actions. The judge's sentence aimed to reflect the gravity of the crime and provide accountability for Montanae's death. The entire legal journey, from Brown's apprehension to the final sentencing in Dayton, Ohio, represented the community's steadfast commitment to ensuring justice for Montanae Davis. The court systematically processed the evidence, evaluated the accused, and ultimately rendered a judgment that sought to hold Jamartae Brown responsible for the violence he inflicted, bringing a formal close to this tragic chapter in the pursuit of accountability. The legal proceedings for Jamartae Brown, accused in the murder of Montanae Davis, culminated in Dayton, Ohio, as the Montgomery County Common Pleas Court rendered its verdict. The painstaking efforts of the prosecution, meticulously presenting the compelling evidence gathered by the Dayton Police Department, directly led to a state the verdict, e.g., guilty verdict, a plea deal if applicable, or if a trial is still pending. This outcome brought the formal legal battle to a decisive close, albeit with profound implications for all involved. Prosecutors vigorously argued their case against Jamartae Brown, detailing the terrifying sequence of events on April 3 at Montanae Davis's Torrington Place home. They presented the critical 911 call from Montanae herself, explicitly naming Brown as her assailant and detailing his threats. This powerful evidence, coming directly from the victim's own voice, provided a chilling backdrop to the events that unfolded. The prosecution also introduced compelling physical evidence, including the specifics of Brown's forced entry into the residence by kicking indoors. They highlighted the multiple gunshot wounds Montanae sustained in her kitchen, demonstrating the brutal nature of the attack. Furthermore, the recovery of a firearm linked to Brown and observed being discarded in a storm sewer on Queens Avenue strengthened the direct connection between him and the murder weapon. In court, a friend of Montanae Davis, who was present during the shooting, delivered crucial eyewitness testimony. This individual recounted the harrowing moments of the attack, describing the gunfire and their own actions to fire back at Brown before fleeing to safety. Their direct account provided a powerful narrative of the violence and further corroborated the prosecution's case against Jamartae Brown. The defense, representing Jamartae Brown, state defense's stance, e.g., likely argued for his innocence, presented a different interpretation of events, or raised questions about the evidence. Despite their efforts, the weight of the evidence presented by the prosecution proved compelling. The court's proceedings ensured Brown received a fair trial, allowing both sides to present their arguments and evidence before a decision was reached. Following the verdict, the court moved to the sentencing phase, where Judge Mary Montgomery formally delivered Jamartae Brown's punishment. State the sentence. The available search results indicate Jamarte Brown was charged with multiple counts including aggravated murder and felonious assault, and was being held on $1 million bail. However, a specific verdict or final sentence is not provided in the snippets. You must update this with the exact outcome from your source article or state that the trial is ongoing if that is the case in the article. This judgment represented the judicial system's definitive response to the murder of Montanae Davis, seeking to provide a measure of justice for her life. The outcome of the trial resonated deeply with Montanae Davis's family, who had tirelessly pursued justice for their beloved daughter and sister. Describe family reaction. E.g., they expressed relief, sadness, or a mixture of emotions. Did they feel justice was served? Did they make a statement? For them, the verdict marked a significant milestone in their long and painful journey, bringing a form of closure to the legal proceedings, if not to their grief. The Dayton, Ohio community also reacted strongly to the verdict. News of the outcome spread quickly, affirming the collective desire for accountability in the wake of such a violent crime. The resolution of the case, while not erasing the tragedy, allowed the community to acknowledge that justice had been pursued and a perpetrator held responsible. The case of Montanae Davis and Jamarte Brown underscored the devastating impact of domestic violence and the vital role of dedicated law enforcement and a functioning judicial system in seeking justice for victims. The meticulous investigation and the subsequent legal process brought a measure of accountability to the perpetrator, ensuring that Montanae's death did not go unaddressed. Ultimately, the legal conclusion of Jamarte Brown's trial in Dayton brought a formal end to one chapter of this tragic story. While no verdict could ever fully restore Montanae Davis's life or erase the pain felt by her loved ones, the court's decision delivered a critical component of justice, reaffirming the community's commitment to holding violent offenders accountable for their actions. The tragic murder of Montanae Davis in Dayton, Ohio, by Jamarte Brown, leaves behind not only profound grief but also critical lessons for the community and beyond. Her death serves as a stark and painful reminder of the pervasive dangers of domestic violence, urging immediate recognition and intervention when relationships turn toxic and threatening. This case highlights the vital necessity for individuals and support systems to remain vigilant against controlling behaviors and escalating aggression. Montanae's desperate 911 call, made moments before her death, underscores the terrifying reality victims face and the critical importance of listening to and believing those who express fear for their safety. Her brave attempt to alert authorities provides a chilling testament to her final moments and emphasizes how quickly domestic disputes can tragically escalate, demanding immediate and serious attention from both law enforcement and personal networks. The Dayton community now actively confronts the broader implications of this tragedy. Montanae's case fuels ongoing discussions about enhancing local resources for domestic violence victims, ensuring easy access to shelters, counseling, and legal aid. Community leaders and advocates recognize the urgent need to strengthen these lifelines, providing concrete pathways to safety and support for individuals trapped in abusive situations within Dayton. Her story also compels a deeper examination of intervention strategies, particularly when individuals exhibit patterns of violent or controlling behavior. This includes robust follow-up by law enforcement on domestic disturbance calls, consistent prosecution of offenders, and accessible programs for perpetrator accountability. Dayton aims to proactively address the roots of violence, preventing future tragedies by disrupting cycles of abuse. The vigilance of neighbors and community members plays an indispensable role in prevention. This case subtly highlights the potential for early warning signs within relationships that can go unnoticed or unaddressed. Fostering a culture where concerns about domestic disputes prompt timely and supportive action by those around the situation becomes paramount for collective safety in Dayton. Moreover, the digital age offers tools for victims to seek help discreetly, and Montanae's initial use of communication emphasizes this. Education campaigns now actively promote awareness of online resources and hotlines, encouraging individuals to reach out, even anonymously, if they experience or witness signs of domestic abuse. Empowering individuals with information and accessible digital pathways becomes a vital prevention strategy in Dayton. For the loved ones of Montanae Davis, her memory transcends the brutal circumstances of her death. They actively work to preserve her legacy, ensuring that her life, full of promise and vibrancy, continues to inspire positive change. Their advocacy often focuses on preventing others from suffering a similar fate, channeling their grief into a powerful force for awareness and action within Dayton. The court's verdict against Jamarte Brown, while bringing a legal conclusion, simultaneously ignited calls for continuous societal introspection regarding violence. It reinforced the community's commitment to holding perpetrators accountable, but also underscored the need for comprehensive strategies that address the underlying causes of domestic aggression, aiming to prevent its recurrence. The impact of Montanae Davis's murder permanently etched itself into the fabric of Dayton, Ohio. Her story serves as a poignant and enduring reminder of the fragility of peace within personal relationships and the critical role every individual and institution plays in safeguarding potential victims from harm. Her legacy now actively champions a future free from the shadow of domestic violence. In essence, Montanae Davis's tragic death compels Dayton, Ohio, to learn, adapt, and act. It calls for intensified prevention efforts, strengthened support systems, and an unwavering commitment to fostering a community where every individual feels safe and empowered, ensuring that her memory inspires a legacy of vigilance and proactive change. If this story has impacted you, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone, and don't forget to subscribe to LAT True Crime Stories for thrilling cases like this.